Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com, and I'm here with the HTC Freestyle. It's one of AT&T's new feature phones. It is made by HTC, and it features their Sense UI, which we usually only see on their smartphones. So it's kind of an interesting phone. It almost looks like a smartphone, but it's not a smartphone. So I've been testing it out. I'm going to do a full review and tell you what I think of the phone, the pros and the cons. Like I said, it's from AT&T. It's kind of pricey. It's about $100 on contract. So in the full review, I'm going to go over, is it really worth that much money? So HTC Freestyle, full review coming up right now. I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Let's go check it out. So this phone has been getting a lot of attention. It's pretty popular, mostly because it looks like a smartphone, but it's not a smartphone. And that's because it runs HTC Sense UI. So it's built by HTC and also runs their user interface. So a lot of the cool features that you get come from that UI. For example, the clock and weather widget, that's pretty popular with their smartphones, and now you also have it on a feature phone. You also get the full weather widget, along with a couple of other widgets, the messaging widget, the calendar widget, also their front stream app and widget, which is a social networking app that kind of brings all of it together, Facebook and Twitter. You also have that widget available. So it's definitely, very cool that you have those things. They look great, but they're also very useful. I mean, having the weather widget is obviously, you can see the use in that. And then they've also brought some other useful features, for example, with notifications. So you can see here at the top of this widget, it tells me everything. First of all, my battery, the sound, if it's on or off, how many bars I have if I'm on 3G, but also tell you if you have any missed calls or messages. For example, right now I have a missed call and a text message, and it'll tell me there. But also another very cool feature that I thought was awesome is you can barely see at the top of the screen there's 3 dots. You may not be able to see it, but basically there's a bar up there and you can drag it down and you can see again if you have any missed calls and messages, or if you've set up your email account, it will also tell you if you had any emails here. So kind of that Android looking notification bar that's very useful. But again, you don't have to have a smartphone to have those features. You can also see here, there's the messages shortcut and it tells me I have a message. If we go over here, this is the page for all of your favorite contacts. And again, it says I have something, a missed call, it happens to be from this person, which is actually me. One more, with notifications, one more cool feature. If you go to the unlock screen, it tells you, again, here you have a missed call and a text message. So, just little things like that. I mean, there's notifications like all over the place, but that's something that you don't usually get with a feature phone, and it's very useful, and it's not something that you have to have a data plan for, except for, text messages. Obviously you have to have a plan for that. But, things like the weather widget, those you're going to have to pay for data. But these things like notifications, it's built in very well, and I definitely think it functions very well too. At the bottom you have call, back, and end, but you also have this silver button, which is the menu button, and the menu that it brings up will change depending on where you're at. So right now I'm in the home screen, so if I push it, I can go to Scenes, Customize, Wallpaper, and Settings. So I'll go to Wallpaper and I'll change it. And so now it's changed. If I were here on this page, I could push Menu and it brings up another set of menu items. So the menu button comes in very handy. Also, if you're in the web browser, you push the menu to bring up a different set of menu options. So I really like that menu button. But then just the level of customization, all of these pages can be changed. So say I don't want the weather widget. I go back home and I go to Customize, and I can choose to take off the page that has the weather, so uncheck it. If I want to add a page for front stream, I can check that. And then if I want to move that, actually I have to click on the lines and then I can move it around, select OK, and it will reload. And now we have weather is gone and front stream has been added. So, very customizable, and again, those are features that are very useful. Now, the phone does not have a physical keyboard, so it's a touchscreen only. It is a capacitive touchscreen. It's a 3.2-inch capacitive touchscreen. So far, I've been very pleased with the responsiveness of the touchscreen. I haven't had any problems so far. But when it comes to messaging, obviously you are going to have to use a virtual keyboard, which I was a little bit, I wasn't too sure if it was going to work that well, since a feature phone, sometimes it's not really that great. And I've come to the conclusion that it's definitely one of the best virtual keyboards on a feature phone. It's not perfect and it's not spectacular, but it is one of the best on a feature phone. So I'll type out our typical message, the quick. And as you can hear, you have haptic feedback, which you can turn off. You can also turn on sound for the keyboard. Every time you press a button, it'll make a sound. So, in testing, it's been a really great keyboard. One of the things that makes it so good is the autocorrect functionality. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples. So let me delete this, and I'm going to type I'm, which typically I'm has an apostrophe. However, in my experience, most feature phones, their autocorrect functionality is sort of, it's there, but not really. So if I were to push space, most feature phones would just leave it I'm. However, with this, as you can see, it has the apostrophe, the word that's I'm automatically selected. So when I press space, it'll put it there. That's a small thing, but if you use messaging phones and feature phones a lot, that's a really nice feature. And it would do the same thing if I were to type any other word, that needs an apostrophe. It has these options, and if I push space, it'll automatically select the one that's in green. So, that's with words that, need an apostrophe, but just in general, the spell correction, the auto correction, it's one of the best on a feature phone, and that's one of the things that makes it so great. The phone doesn't have an accelerometer, so if you want to use a keyboard in landscape mode, you have to press the button to switch to landscape mode. Same thing with the web browser. You can use it in both portrait and landscape, but you have to go into the menu and change it because it doesn't have an accelerometer. But anyway, that being said, the keyboard is definitely great. It's not as good as a smartphone, obviously, but it's definitely probably the best virtual keyboard that I've used. Since I mentioned the web browser, we'll go to that really quick. And it's definitely a great web browser. Again, it has a capacitive touchscreen, but the touchscreen also supports multi-touch. So right now it's loading up phonedog.com. And as you can see, it takes a while to load each page. It is faster than other phones that I've tested out, even faster than other AT&T phones. But as you can see, it is still going to take a while. It does not support Wi-Fi, so it's 3G only for web browsing and any data. But we'll wait for this page to load, and then I'll show you, just basically what it looks like. You can also load up the mobile page, obviously, and it will load a lot faster. But I'm going to load up the full page, and then we'll wait for it to load, and then I'll show you the multi-touch, which is, pinch to zoom, basically is what you would use that for. So you can see the page here, and the scrolling is, pretty smooth. Once the page is loaded, it'll definitely be faster. And then I'll zoom in, and you can see it takes about a second or two to kind of get it all together and process it. But once it loads, it's not too bad. You're not going to be able to just zoom in and out like that. That's going to be kind of choppy, as you can see. But if you do just zoom in, and then it only takes a couple of seconds to bring it down to fit it onto the screen, which again is nice that it does that. So web browsing with it was definitely one of the best experiences I've had with a feature phone. I'm guessing that if you're going to do a lot of web browsing, obviously you're going to buy a smartphone, but for people that only do minimal web browsing or only use it every so often, this would be a great phone, and that when you do use the web browser, it's going to be usable. It's not going to be a painful experience. You'll actually be able to do something with it. Now, a minute ago when I was talking about messaging, I forgot to mention that the phone does have threaded text messaging. So here I have conversations from 3 different people. There's a green line because that's that message that it keeps telling me about. So let's say I'm going to select this one because it's conversation. And as you can see, it is threaded, so it alternates between the dark background and the light background depending on who's talking. Whenever you receive a message, it will go to the conversation. You can select that message and then press reply, or you can go press the menu button and then press reply. So that menu button, really comes in useful. I think it was a great idea by HTC. Now, the camera on the back here is a 3-megapixel camera. It's fixed focus, so no autofocus. It does have a digital zoom and a timer. It captures video 480 by 320 HVGA quality. So it's not spectacular. In my testing, it could have been better. I've tested out even 3-megapixel cameras that were better. So the quality of the camera is not great. But, for basic snapshots, I'd say I would be pleased enough. So let me take a picture of this. And there you can see, it's kind of blurry. It didn't focus really well. Colors showed up pretty well, but the problem is just that focus, it's you're kind of stuck with a fixed focus camera. So it was okay. Quality wasn't that great. You do have a dedicated camera button, which is definitely nice. In terms of memory and media, the phone supports up to 32 gigabytes. It does have a micro SD card slot. It's underneath the battery slot, sort of. It's kind of weird the way that you get to the battery. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take this thing off. Yeah. So you take that off, flip this open, there's a battery and the SIM card, and the micro SD card goes in there. So it supports up to 32 gigabytes. It doesn't come with a card, so you'll have to buy your own. And then the phone itself has 150 megabytes of internal memory. So let me get that back on there. This is one of the annoying parts of the phone, but thankfully you probably won't be taking off the battery cover too often. So while I have the phone just out showing the back, I will say in the unboxing video I said that it was made out of plastic, and I thought it was. When I first took it out of the box, it felt kind of plasticky. I had read reviews and reports from other news websites that it was made out of plastic. However, once I started using it, I could tell that it was not plastic, and I checked HTC's website, and it is actually a metal body, whether it's aluminum or not, they didn't say. But it's very high quality materials. It's not plastic, so that's nice to see. HTC is known for their build quality, for making really high quality phones that look great, and it's nice to see that they didn't change that just because it's a cheaper phone. It still looks good. This part is obviously kind of rubberized plastic, but the rest of the phone itself, great build quality. I'm definitely impressed with that. It's pretty small. I said earlier the display is only a 3.2-inch display, so the phone in its entirety is only a little over 4 inches long and then 2 inches wide. It is, a little bit thick. It's about ½ an inch thick, so it's not the thinnest phone, but it still looks great. So lastly, we'll talk about battery life. It ships with a 1300 milliamp hour battery. I've heard other reports and other people say that battery life was either not that great or horrible. So it's something that I paid attention to a lot. And honestly, I really have no complaints about the battery. I tested it out just leaving it on standby, and it lasted about 2 days. I tested it, and it probably would have lasted longer because I was still kind of using it very lightly because I was testing out the phone itself. But then I've also used it, with heavy use and doing web browsing, and it still lasted about a day and a half. And so, it may not last a week like other feature phone batteries can, but it's definitely enough to get you through a complete day, a full day, and then maybe even half a day if you want to push it that far. So, and in my opinion, that's enough. That might not be good enough for you, so keep that in mind. And then obviously if you are watching TV just for 5 hours straight, yeah, it's going to go dead. But even with heavy use, web browsing, messaging, talking on the phone, it will definitely get you through a full day and maybe even 2 days. So there it is, guys, the HTC Freestyle from AT&T. It's $100, which I know is kind of pricey, and some people may complain about that. But if you think about what you're getting, you know, one of the best feature phones, in my opinion, probably the best feature phone on the market. And you know, it may not be a smartphone, but you don't have to pay for the data if you don't want to. You know, it's just, it may be cheaper per month depending on what you're looking for. So I would definitely say it's a good option. The best feature phone on AT&T, so if you're wondering, it's the HTC Freestyle. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com. Keep it locked on PhoneDog. I'm going to have my full written review up, and we're also going to do some dogfights with the HTC Freestyle. And of course, we'll have other reviews on smartphones and other messaging phones. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter if you would like to. My screen name is It's My Job to Know. Also check out our Facebook page for a chance to win an iPad 2 and some pretty cool smartphones. But that's it for me. I'm Sydney. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.